Hello and welcome back to Parc Fermé Parlay with Kieran Downey. It's race week. Yep, right off the back of the Spanish Grand Prix, we are keeping it in Europe and we are making our way over to Austria for the 2024 Austrian Formula One Grand Prix. Return of Austria, it's the return of the Red Bull Ring, and it's the return of every driver getting about 12 track limits violations. The 2023 Austrian Grand Prix was known for a Max Verstappen win and everyone receiving probably about 2 or 3 10-second penalties for track limits. Something that F1 is not keen to have happen again, as they have created temporary gravel traps. I think there's 2 new gravel traps that I've seen that are temporary that have been added on to this track at the last few corners of the circuit, purely to negate the sheer volume of track limits. At least that's what I think, anyway. That's what everyone seems to be talking about on social media, that's why they're there around the last couple of corners, which is a point that is plagued drivers. Like last year, every time a car went round that last corner, they probably got 5-second penalty for track limits. Somebody put up the FIA report the other day that had all of the track limits from 2023 and all the penalties that were awarded to the drivers. And some of them were racking up like 4 10-second penalties. But we shall see this year if they make any difference, because who knows? But we will see if these temporary gravel traps make any difference this year. As I said, they are only temporary because there is other motorsport series that race on that track that don't experience the same issues with track limits. So they are only temporary for F1, I believe. Now, before we get into the action of the weekend, and it is going to be a big weekend of racing. Not only do we have Formula One racing there this weekend, but we also have F2 and F3. So there will be plenty cars on track across the weekend. And it is also the next sprint of the Formula One season. So we've got that to look forward to. I know sprints aren't everyone's cup of tea, but I actually quite enjoy them. And I do prefer this new, probably quite controversially, this new format compared to last year's. I know it puts a lot of pressure on the drivers and a lot of pressure on the engineers. God forbid anything should happen to the cars while they're out on track for the sprint, because right after that they have qualifying for the race. But I do quite enjoy it. To be fair, any cars on track I thoroughly enjoy. So yeah, let's get into why we're here today, and that is our predictions for the Austrian Grand Prix and the Austrian Sprint. So let's start out with sprint pole position. Now, I have kind of sat and thought about this for a while, because it seems like we have a genuine battle on our hands now. Red Bull is not winning by 40 seconds anymore. Max is still winning, but not by the margins that we expected. Who would have thought that after Bahrain, we would have the season that we're having on our hands? Like, the last 4 races have had a different team on pole position. Spain, Canada, Imola, and Monaco. We've had a different team on pole position, and that apparently hasn't happened in 12 years. I didn't even know that. ESPN put that out, and that shocked me. So it appears that we are having quite a good season. So yeah, we are in for another weekend where I think it's going to be quite tight. And I'm going to say, for pole position at the sprint race, pole position for the sprint, who do we think? And for sprint pole, Oscar Piastri. I don't know why I think it, but I just think it. I think Oscar is going to... I don't think Oscar will be really caught out with any of the track limits or the gravel or stuff. I think he'll keep it quite clean, and I think he'll easily nab a sprint pole. Yeah, let's do it. Oscar Piastri, sprint pole. I believe in him. I believe in the Aussie. It's also 1 year, side note, 1 year from... Remember, I can't remember when it happened during the weekend, but the guy that was on like the jetpack thing, and he was like flying down the track, and he basically ended up crashing into the ground. And the reaction of Oscar, Oh, it's one of my favourite, like, meme moments that has happened in F1. It's pure gold. But yeah, Oscar Piastri, man on top, sprint pole. Now, I know for the race I usually do 3, 2, 1, but I think, do we say 3, 2, 1? Or did I just say sprint pole, sprint win? Yeah, let's do it. Sprint pole and sprint win. Sprint win, Max Verstappen. I do believe Oscar will get pole, and I believe he has every chance of winning the sprint. But what I believe will hamper his chances is he will do what he seems to do quite a bit and just massively cook his tyres. He will push so hard very early on that he'll just shred his tyres to bits, and Max will be able to just get the overtake done, and he'll not be able to fight back. But I do think that Max will be able to win the sprint. The man's inevitable. That man he's on fire. So that's where I'm at. Pole position, Oscar. Sprint win, Max Verstappen. Now, moving on to pole position for the Grand Prix. Now, let me think. I reckon pole for the Grand Prix. Pole for the Grand Prix, George Russell. Yeah, George Russell. The man's been doing pretty decent. That Mercedes it's not a tractor anymore. They're not fighting the car. They're doing pretty well. So I think George will be able to get pole. This is pure vibes, this prediction, to be honest with you. Okay, now P3 for the race, Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc. I reckon it's time for him to get back on a podium. I don't think that Ferrari will struggle as much this weekend. I think they'll just have a solid weekend, both the drivers. I think they'll keep their noses out of trouble. They'll stop fighting with one another and have a nice, clean race. I'm speaking directly to you, boys. Cut it out. Yeah, Charles Leclerc, back on the podium. Bit of red back up there. We've been missing it, haven't we? Now, P2 for the race, Max Verstappen. And I don't think it's through any fault of his own. I don't think it's through, like, engine problems or anything to do with the car. I think he'll not be the quickest car out on track because I'm putting P1 Lando Norris. I reckon Lando Norris is going to win his second Grand Prix this weekend. And I think it's going to be purely down to the fact that that car is fastest. That car is the fastest car on track. Will be so focused and honed in on not making any mistakes, getting off the line good, racing good, and being quick. And he will nab his second win. Let's go, Lando. And if he wins, I'll sing you the rest of the song. Okay, now a couple other predictions for this weekend. I have a feeling that during the sprint race, there will be some form of accident, which means that the driver can't qualify. And I don't want to be that guy, but I kind of think it'll be Logan Sargent. Maybe that's a bit of a bolder prediction. I mean, do I play it safe and go, there will be an accident in the sprint and they might not qualify? Like, it'll be a very big question of will they or won't they? Yeah, let's do that. I think Perez is going to have another shocker of a weekend. I think it's just going to be that run of form. I know Perez finished third last year. I don't know what it is with Perez at the moment, but I just can't see him performing any better than the way he has. I think it's going to be a slow, maybe it'll be a little bit better, but I just think it's going to be a slow, progression. I still think he's going to be battling a stake this weekend. Do you know what I mean? Like battling a Cyber. Speaking of Cyber, I think Cyber's going to have an all right weekend. I think they're going to get back up into through to Q2. By no means do I think they'll score a point. I don't think that car's capable of scoring points. But yeah, I think they'll have an all right weekend. The upgrades that they brought to the car seem to have leaps and bounds better than what it was. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're racing a wheelie bin. I think we'll have a pleasant surprise from Cyber again this weekend. Alpines. I think the Alpines are going to have another good weekend. I don't know what paint they've been scraping off that car. Don't really know what they have done with the upgrades. Whatever they're doing is working. I think they'll be able to extend their lead because they're above Haas now in the championship. They're above Williams. Another few points in the bag for them. Do you know who I think is going to have a shocker of the weekend? Fernando Alonso. Yep, I think this will be another weekend where Lance Stroll has a solid weekend, maybe scores a wee point, and just performs all right better than Alonso. Just don't see him being great this weekend. Finally, I think Yuki Tsunoda is going to have a really good weekend again this weekend. I think he'll be back in the points. He will be honed in, focused. What could actually... Whoa, do you know what I've just thought? I've just realised, I checked the weather at the beginning of this week, and there's like thunderstorms. There's storms a brewing. Let's go and have a look at that again. Okay, so for free practice 1 and sprint quali, there is going to be cloudy skies, relatively stable. Sprint, race and quali, the weather situation is expected to escalate with the development of thunderstorms in the afternoon, which could affect the sprint and Grand Prix qualifying. 40% chance of rain in the evening, and then Sunday presents the most severe weather of the weekend with consistent thunderstorms predicted throughout the day, thereby potentially impacting the Grand Prix itself. The likelihood of rain skyrockets to 80%. So, we could be looking at another Canada situation where, I wouldn't even say changeable conditions, I reckon we're looking at a wet weather race. And if we're looking at a wet weather sprint and quali, that's where I reckon Logan Sargent's going off the track. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm praying that the race doesn't get cancelled this weekend. So I won't be here between practice and the race because I'm actually down in Milton Keynes. Me and my dad have got a tour of the Red Bull Racing Factory on the Friday, which we're really looking forward to. That's Friday morning. We're staying in Milton Keynes that night. I reckon we'll probably go for like dinner and like a bar somewhere. I mean, we'll try and find somewhere to watch the sprint quali, and then we're driving back up the road on this Saturday. It means we will miss the sprint and probably the qualifying session because it's like a 6 or 7 hour drive, I think, from Milton Keynes back up to Scotland. And then I'll be back in Edinburgh for the race. So I will be back after the race on the pod, in your eye holes, in your ear holes, to break down the race. And do you know something? Because I'm not going to be here over the other two, we'll break down any highs and lows of the 2 quali sessions and the sprint session. We'll throw it all into a big Austrian weekend reaction. But that is everything from me just now. I'll see you after the race on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy all the on-track action that we're going to get this weekend. I reckon we're in for a spicy one. I reckon we are. And I'm quite looking forward to F2 and F3 this weekend as well. But yes, I will see you then. Love you. Bye.